Yeah. So well spotted. Yeah, we were concerned about that, weren't we? And slots into fifth, which is not the time we were expecting them to be. Some pretty committed laps for the number 3 car.
Exactly. Landline kit, and then to the next to the Evos, that's of one car on. The probability might hit. Good to go. Very enthusiastic. The drivers.
They all are. You can see their bags of nervous energy inside the car before they get unleashed on the gear circuit. And rightly so. Yeah. Amazing experience for a driver.
Number 20 Mini, one of the popular Super Coopers in the entry, Louis Vaillant, who we keep expecting to suddenly burst through, but he's had a tough weekend thus far with problems yesterday and not getting a lap time of note in this morning. 81 is Hu Zhuobiang with the Seoul Subaru Impreza. We've not really seen very much of that car this weekend, but there it is, adding variety.
And we often speak about the different and unique colour schemes that are picked. Well, the range perhaps offers one of the most colourful displays. Number 7 of Lomen Phi being no exception to that. The familiar purple and yellow of the Sonbeng Racing Team, the number 59 car of Wong Kwai Wah, Mitsubishi Evo 9 car.
Or Anson Wong, as he has westernised himself to many of the drivers take a Western forename. Number 12 in the background there is Im Tat Meng's Peugeot, and 66 you've got is Kim Beng's Fiesta ST. There's the Peugeot, the RCZ. He's in really funky shape there, and I think he's only really here that you see him racing. There might have been a one-make championship in France a few years ago, but elsewhere, pretty rare on a racetrack.
Always rather fancy one. 73 is Choi Chan Va in the Peugeot RCZ. I don't know if we're meant to say RCZ. I bet they are RCZs.
It's whatever a French translation would be.
Yeah,
surely.
I reckon it's D.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we're unique.
Oh, in so many ways.
Yes.
Yes.
You're right. We are.
The nice thing about that car is that it does sort of echo the shape of the 908 Le Mans sports car, with a very sort of heavy fronted design. So we are good to go. The green flag will fly in a moment to release the cars, with Sabino Osorio Matias Lai, the head of the queue, number 528, lines up alongside, which is Geronimo Bararaco.
We've had delays today, which meant that the Sands Formula 4 qualifying session was reduced initially by 5 minutes to 20 minutes. We've got no indication so far whether that's going to apply to this or subsequent sessions this afternoon. Should be 25 minutes.
Yeah, and it's going to be 20 because the clock starts at 20 minutes as the green flag is shown. So it's going to be, again, a 5-minute reduction just to try to help the timetable. And in a sense, that's okay because they've all been out, they've all had track time.
Yeah.
So the session starts and we are in business then.
20-minute session does seem to go quite a lot more quickly because once they've completed this out lap and you get back to the start-finish line to go on to the first of the meaningful qualifying laps, and all of a sudden you've got something just over 15 minutes remaining on the clock. It does put a sense of urgency behind these Q2s. Plenty of Mitsubishis as well. A few Peugeots thrown in, a Subaru Impreza, some Fords, a Volkswagen.
There's a Lotus Elise.
And a Lotus Elise as well.
Yeah. And a Chevrolet Cruze as well. You'll see the sort of stealth livery Chevrolet of Kevin Lam. Lam Kar-chun, Kevin Lam as he's become westernised. So the field pouring through the approach to San Francisco Hill on the Roadsport Challenge, which effectively is the local saloon and sports car race, if you want to simplify it. But the outstanding thing about this is the level of preparation. There isn't a scruffy car, there isn't an old car particularly. You know, they're all well presented, well maintained, and reliable and quick and pretty well driven.
Geronimo Bararaco in car number 28 was quickest in a Q1. 25-minute session we had earlier on today at the start of day 2 here at Macau, day 2 of 4. Welcome return to the 4th day.
Strife already.
Already.
33 Mini is Ho Ka Mang, and he might be able to get away with that because if he can squirt it up the escape road out of the way, but he needs the marshals to say now's the time to go. All self-induced on cold tyres.
And that's a bash into the barrier.
Yeah. When it's done that much damage to the car, but the problem is getting a gap in the traffic to get across the road now.
Yeah. At least it's a Mini.
That's true. They don't take up that much room.
It's slightly more tricky for a Peugeot or a Mitsubishi.
So the BMW Mini in strife. Now the others are starting to get towards the Melco hairpin, and having watched other sessions, realising that if you now start the traffic jam, you can try and buy yourself some track space coming out of the corner here. The man to watch also, this is going to be number 1, Leon Wong, who was the winner of both races last year, but was only 4th this morning. He's not actually sparkled this year in the way that he did last year.
Geronimo Badaracco has sparkled, and we also saw Luciano Castillo Ramirez topping the times yesterday in free practice 2. Only good enough for 5th place ultimately in Q1. So there are many names in this field that have competed here with success over the years at Macau. It's a big thing to be part of the Macau Grand Prix weekend, and these are every year crowd pleasers. The Mitsubishis, predominantly Mitsubishi, I think it's fair to say. A car that has found an awful lot of homes in motorsport around the world, in rallying, in circuit racing, and all points in between.
So the cars stream across the line.
You said yesterday you don't see too many of them on the roads these days.
Or the Lancers, yeah.
That's because they've been carefully packed away in garages because...
That's the Chevrolet we were talking about, Kevin Lamb's car, and he's okay, but he's stopped near an access point, but can that car be removed? Yeah, the Lancers, I guess, are now being cosseted away, a bit like any Imprezas that have survived from that era, because their value can go up now.
Yeah.
Right, I'm a bit fearful about that car being parked.
Well, we've got a couple, haven't we?
Might do, yeah. So, can the session continue? Discuss.
15.5 minutes scheduled of this session remain. Be sure that if race control can organise things so that the session doesn't have to be red flagged and cars back into pit lane, and consequently all of the track time that involves is lost, they will try to do their best to make a safe recovery while the circuit is still, inverted commas, live.
Yeah, we saw in a Formula 4 session, didn't we, a full course yellow effectively, and that is what I fear we're going to have to do to get that car out of the way.
That's a really horrible place for the car to be as well.
But it depends really what options there are to move it. Can it be pushed easily into that access point? Is there a crane nearby? We'll find out. But if we go marshals posts everywhere with the yellow flag, we'll know what the plan is. Big lock up there down towards police from the 82 Lancer in the hands of Wong Kar Hong. He's got behind him there, look, number 59, that being Anson Wong. And now we're going to start to get moderately representative lap times offered up, given that they've had to go through a yellow flag zone. Geronimo Badaracco then, the left-hand drive Lancer, darts into Fisherman's, then to Arbed, up towards the timing line, and he does a 2:36.986.
One of my joys of the weekend is when you get the local drivers doing well and they emerge from the car down in Parc Ferme. You see how much this means to them.
Red flag.
Rather feared it might be.
Yeah, there's no option, seemingly, because you can't get access to that car, get it out of the way.
It's a horrible
without
place.
a black badge.
Yeah. It's one of the really narrow sections of the gear circuit. There's plenty of places to go off around the over 6 kilometre track, but that is perhaps one of the most tricky.
So one car had got a lap time in, and it's Badaracco. So he just got through before the flag was called for, and so everybody has to come to the pits. Then the car has to be moved. Then we can go green again, it might be that the race director shortens it slightly again.
Well, that was quite a lap actually for Badaraco.
Yeah.
So that was the first flying lap at bettered Q1.
Interesting.
A 2:37.649 this morning was the best lap for Geronimo Badaraco. It was good enough to be on top of the times, but just with one lap there, a 2:36.986. So that was quite committed, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Straight out the box.
And it might stand him in very good stead because depending on how many more laps we get in, then he's at least got that in the bank. So has Kevin Lamb hit something, or has that car got a mechanical problem to cause its demise? I'm trying to work out whether it looks low on the left front corner, whether that's just the contour of the road.
It's a good question. We'll no doubt get another view of the car before too long. Looking at the 28 car, which is top of the times, Geronimo Badaraco.
Who knows this place very well. He's been an absolute stalwart, hasn't he, of the local races at Macau.
Certainly has, and I was saying that the joy that you see on the faces of drivers when they do well, they arrive in Parc Fermé and then they appear on the very famous yellow and black backdropped Macau Grand Prix podium. That's the point at which you realise just how much success at Macau means to these drivers, all from around Macau and the surrounding areas. So Badaraco, you never use the word nimble to describe the way the Mitsubishi goes around the Melco hairpin. It's a big car, isn't it?
It is, and with bigger wings and third wheel arches, it looks even bigger. But the regulations for these cars make them sort of like not production saloons, but they're midway between a touring car and a modified saloon of years gone by, because you are allowed a certain amount of scope to tune the engine and to play around with the shape of the car, and they've just about all sprouted wings. But the whole idea is to get people on track, and it works very well in that respect.
It works superbly well, and these cars have stood the test of time. A split into two classes, the 2 litres and the 1600s. They get their own podiums, I think, on Sunday for the 2 classes. So we'll try and keep our eyes upon the class battles as well as the race goes on. And the reason we're talking increasingly about racing gets underway tomorrow here at Macau. All day tomorrow, it's racing all the way. Qualifying is complete at the end of this afternoon. Local time here at Macau, fast approaching 4 o'clock, just coming up to 3:45.
And in the case of the cars, then they get one race on Saturday and one on Sunday. But for the motorbikes, both races tomorrow, the second one of which is with the Grand Prix title. So given the heat and the humidity, cool air being blown into the cars once they return to the pit lane. Session will resume shortly, so the teams on their toes, ready to fire the cars back out again.
It is a me car, though, Peugeot. I think I will own one day. But I also want to own a Capri. 2.8 injection Capri.
Really? Not a 3 litre?
No, 2.8 injection. So.
When saloon car races were full of 4 Capris, it was a special era because they made a great noise.
Yes.
They were properly sideways.
They did, yeah.
Oh, how
superb cars. Yeah. That's the number 10 car of Tolak Peng. Mitsubishi Evo 9, that car, and a smile on the way for the camera. Always good to see from the drivers competing in these races. 15:46, that's not far away. In fact,
sort of now.
Any second now.
Yeah.
So we didn't see the recovery of that car, but the car seemingly has been recovered, and that was really quick work once again by the circuit team.
Number 11. Back up running.
That was Sergio Alves Diaz.
One thing we saw last year, we talked about it at the start of yesterday, was that in the second race last year, the Minis seemed to have dreadful trouble getting tyres back up to temperature after a safety car period. And again, we've had interruptions over the course of their sessions, and they've never really looked that sparkling in terms of a lap time. I know they're giving away a certain amount of grunt to the Lancers, the Evo 10s, Evo 9s, but the minis aren't really a factor this year.
And there's plenty of them as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just a singular problem for one or two of the cars. It's across the board really. Into Lisboa. It's now the process of getting the tyres fully up to temperature. They won't have lost all that heat that they got in. It's a warm afternoon now, sunny, 28 degrees high today at Macau. Just a few patchy clouds in the air high up, and a glorious day at Macau. Certainly for the spectators in the grandstands that we were seeing ahead of final qualifying for the Sands Macau Formula 4 cars. Of Loman Fai's car, the RPM Racing Mini Cooper S.
Yeah, most of the minis have got themselves together, haven't they, once they've been released from the pit lane. That's a very smart one, actually.
It really is, yeah. It's a lovely colour scheme and really well presented. They all are. They are so well prepared for this weekend. It's an important weekend in the motorsport calendar in this region of the world, and they do themselves proud year after year in their preparation.
So 35 cars we should have. One that's not yet ventured out, I don't think, is... Oh no, they have all gone out, but Kevin Lamb never actually got across the timing line on his outlap before the Chevrolet expired. That was the situation there.
You know, they're almost halfway through this 20-minute session now.
I know. And only one car with a lap time.
Only one car has put a lap in.
Which, again, illustrates the need, in a way, to have two qualifying sessions, because if it all goes wrong in one, you've got another one to rely on for a time. A similar situation years ago heralded the desire for SRO GT races to have a pre-qualifying session. So you have free practice, pre-qualifying. So if you don't get a qualifying, you can take the results of pre-qualifying.
Something has already been there.
And also, because you've got a session with the word qualifying in the title, that's a good one to go to the stewards with. And so I did pre-qualifying. Ah, yes, of course. Well, I accept that. So it works very well in that respect too. Right, 21 Mini, which is low-end kit up towards the timing line. But slightly more outlandish-looking Mini behind is that of Chankin Sang, with a bigger front air dam on the car, a bit like number 11 Mini there of Chelio Alves Dias. It almost takes you back to the days of Maguire Minis in special saloons in British motorsport and club racing, because they got more and more outlandish. But they're going through is then Chankin Sang with the 1.6-litre turbo engine car. And at the end of this next lap, not only should we be getting lap times, but we'll have about 8 minutes to go.
Minis have always been such a mainstay of motorsport, be it back in the day when Minis first appeared on the horizon, right up until today. Minis are enjoying a very successful time in the UK racing as part of the support package for the British Touring Car Championship, and give us great racing as well. Next year we've got the older Minis as well, haven't we? The Mini 7s and Mini Mid-Minis.
Yeah. But no, you're right. I mean, the new shape Mini is popular, whether it's racing, rally or rally cross. The classic Mini, as it's become known. There are still many of them around in historic racing as well, and commanding big money.
Yeah.
So there, the fleet of Evos comes out of the hairpin, the Nalco hairpin, slightly holding up the Peugeot, but then they'll sprint away with the trademark puff of smoke from the back of all of them.
Which we no longer worry about.
No, we decided this morning it was like a dog's wet nose. It's a good sign. It's a healthy sign for a Lancer. So number 1, last year's winner Leon Wong, then comes down to our bend. Clear road ahead of him, but he's got to really dig deep, only then backs out of it. Now, I think that might be a problem, because he got himself to the head of the traffic, and he has slowed right down. So has something broken for Leon Wong. Trickles his way along the straight, and it doesn't look necessarily as though he's about to suddenly accelerate away, so we'll keep an eye to whether he ventures to the pits or not.
Far from perfect, that.
Yeah.
Number 18 car of Chu Hio Fong, RPM Racing Team entered car.
It's looking good, isn't it, with purples and greens. So Chu Hu Fong up to second as he goes through. And do you know what? I think that after all of that, Leon Wang did keep going. I think he did accelerate rather than come into the pit.
Certainly he was looking around in the cockpit of the car, wasn't he? So something was not quite right. It might have been just something that required a little bit of attention inside the car. 59, Wang Kuai-hua goes third. So moves up the order. So too does Soria Matthias Lai in the number 5 car.
And Chu Hu Fong there, having done his lap, was backed out of it. 25 goes through Chan Chi Ha. 7.5 minutes to go now.
Badaracco still top of the times in car number 28 with a 2:36.986. Just one flying lap completed by Geronimo Badaracco in car number 28. Chu Hu Fong, car number 18, is in second position, 2:37.962.
And a charging Chelio Alves Dias there gets up on the inside of the Mini. Now that car was third, it's down to 6th on a 2:47.9, but the little white Mini there scuttling between the barriers looks like it's on a mission on this lap. Popping and banging the turbo wastegate on the Mitsubishi Lancer Evos as they come through the S's.
Excellent word for describing a Mini making its way through a field. Scuffling. You're welcome. Badaracco is top and comes out of pit lane only now with 6 minutes and 40 seconds of the race remaining, of the qualifying session remaining. And to remind you, 2 classes. We have 2-litre cars, 1950 to be precise. 81, it's a problem for Hu Zhou-Liang in the Team Prospect Subaru.
That's at Lisboa, he's gone up the escape road and now has to try to wriggle back into the right direction.
And as we said, Badaracco with only one flying lap completed. We've got 6 minutes of the session remaining.
And there's Leon Wang, look, absolutely on a mission, but he's got traffic around him. There is Mo Chi Fai ahead of him. But number 1 then, Leon Wang, heading up towards the timing line. And is that going to put him into the top 3? It does, third quickest. So 2:38.8, he's 1.8 seconds down on pole, but with clear road, that might have been different. And we've still got yellows waving down at Lisboa, by the way.
And Badaracco on the outlap in car number 28. I'm sure we're going to pick up the car fairly soon.
And that is another reason that we've got yellows being waved, because facing the wrong way is King Veng. I know he's facing the right way, but he's
in the middle of the circuit.
The road, and as he hits something, is that liquid out of the front of the car?
I think it might be.
Right, so what have we got? 5 minutes on the clock. Not everybody has done a lap time in Q2.
Including Ramirez.
Yeah, you're right. Ah, well, yes. I was going to say unless the transponder's not working, but it has registered that he's on the track.
It's on there, yeah.
You're right, yes.
They fixed that problem. But,
yeah.
Oh dear, oh dear. Under 5 minutes of this session remaining.
And if it were to be stopped, it wouldn't be restarted, and it's been stopped. Red flag is out again. So, red flag, and with, what have we got, 4 3/4 minutes. We're into the last 5, and that's the second stoppage. So,
what do you reckon?
I would have said that's the end, frankly.
I think you might be right. We have seen a pretty no-nonsense approach with stoppages from race control this afternoon, with an eye to the time, local time, just coming up to 4 o'clock. We have still 2 more sessions to complete on circuit.
So we're looking at the message line on the screen, waiting for news, but you've got a car to retrieve. There's the potential of having to treat the circuit for that spilt liquid, which I think is there at the front. So for my money, that car of Kin Veng has hit the barrier and put fluid down on the racetrack. So that would need to be attended to as well. Everybody being brought back to the pit lane.
And potentially the most significant sufferer here is going to be the number 3 car. A problem with the transponder earlier on for Luciano Castillo Ramirez, and I have a feeling that that's going to be rather bad news in qualifying for that car.
Session will not be resumed, confirmation, so we were right. because we're into the last 5 minutes and they've already had one red flag anyway. There won't be a continuation of it. So, yes, the no-nonsense approach that you discussed is now becoming ever more enforced.
Well, it's also impractical, isn't it? We've got...
and they've had a qualifying session anyway.
Yeah.
So they do have a time on which they can rely.
So, cars thread their way around, indicated by the marshal. Keep to the right. Over to the right. There's room to squeeze cars of Ng Kim Veng's car. And then, once they're all through, the marshals can set about the important task of clearing the car from the circuit and then investigating the potential of fluid that needs to be dressed on track as well.
So drivers discuss the session with their teams, including there from the number 82 Mitsubishi, Wang Ka-hong. But the enthusiasm that the drivers all have,
superb. Even
though they've had these interruptions and a bitty session, they still love it.
Yeah, the face lights up, the smile comes, and away for the camera.
Well, it's been a good day for this man, for Geronimo Badaraco, fastest in both sessions. Pole position beckons for him.
With only 2 laps completed, that was. So just the out lap and 1 flying lap, a 2:36.986, which was quicker than the quickest time that he did this morning in qualifying. And that was only 2 laps, wasn't it?
Yeah. So Geronimo Badaraco, the fastest by 9/10 of a second from Chu Hu Hong, with then Leon Wong third. Wang Kwaiwa fourth ahead of Sabino Osorio Mathias Lai. Rue in the Mini comes 6th, and then Wang Xinjun 7th from Chelio Alves Diaz, Loic Man Kit, and Mu Chi Fai rounding out the top 10. 29 of them managed to do a lap time in Q2, so many will have to rely on what they did in Q1 to determine the grid for the first race of the SJM Macau Roadsport Challenge.